The 5 koshas, the 5 levels of what it is to be a human being and how to align those to live a full power life. Hi, I'm Breadner, and this is a channel for yoga teachers who want to step up in their teaching, that want to take it to the next level, that want to be able to transition their teachings from the studio to online, and how to be at the leading edge of how yoga moves into the future. So please subscribe and click on the bell there, and you'll be notified anytime we release a new video. The koshas is a model in yoga, and a kosha means a sheath. And at our center, we have singularity, which we would call yoga. Other names for that in yoga we call Brahman, others might call it the Tao, religion might call it God, it could be called the Holy Spirit, science might call it the quantum field. But out of that singularity, we form us as being a separate identity, as being a human being. And from the center, we have these layers. And a kosha means a sheath. Think of having a lampshade, and you've got a light, and you put a lampshade and another one and another one and another one and another one. What happens is the light gets dimmer and dimmer. So think about our human spirit. And as we do that and put the layers over and we get identified with each layer, the human spirit, we start to lose connection to it. Even though it's always there, we start to lose connection. So our practice in yoga is, how do we reverse engineer, do this inner journey and get back from duality and separation and creating a world connected to our beliefs and attitudes that's separate to everybody else? And how do we get back to this center, yoga, singularity? Because that's the whole science of it. It's a reverse engineering process. And it's not really about adding anything. It's about remembering who we truly are. So let's talk about these. We have kosha. Each one is called, for example, Ananda, bliss. Ananda Maya kosha, Maya meaning illusion. And the illusion is, it's not that it doesn't exist, it's just that it's not the complete picture. So anytime you identify at a particular layer, I am my body, right? Yes, you have a body, but it's not all that you are. So to be able to go beyond that illusion, we go deeper and deeper through the process. So when we look at the koshas, these layers of being, we go from singularity. In yoga, we would call that the ocean. And then there's a motivating force, karma, that separates the drop from the ocean. That's our individual spirit. And as it folds out, the first thing from the center there, from the self, from the singularity, is the universal intelligence of your spirit. Right? Amazing. And it's an incredibly high vibration. And the vibration of that is bliss, ananda, love, joy, compassion. And when we're very close to the center, coming back to singularity, when you look at the gurus or highly evolved people, it's not that they are feeling bliss, it's that they are a vibration of bliss, a vibration of love. They're at a very high pitch and frequency. The next thing that happens is, as we move from Ananda Maya kosha into Vigna Maya kosha, Vigna meaning like higher knowledge, your intelligence sheath, the greater intelligence, as the spirit unfolds, it goes into every cell of the body. So every cell of your body holds that intelligence. It's the blueprint for your genius. It's the blueprint for your well-being. And it's all possible for all of us to access the total intelligence and wisdom of all that is possible. Incredible. So what goes astray? Well, what happens is we start to identify with Manamaya kosha, which is our belief patterns. And each belief pattern has an energy component to it and an emotion. And as we do that and we develop a belief and an attitude, so we have attachments, we identify who we are by what I like, and I identify myself by what I don't like. When you put all those together, we call it me. It's my identity, and it's separate to the whole. And it's very narrow. It's like we're living in a world of all possibility, but we've got these blinkers on. And we identify with a little speck in what's possible. Here's the thing. We're made of atoms, and an atom is 99.9% empty. So what does that say about us? It means that we're 99.9% empty. There's only really 0.1% or less that is actually material. But guess what? Your mind can only pay attention to. That's right, the 0.1. So it's a very narrow framework, and we identify ourselves by our beliefs, we identify ourselves by our emotional identity. Because we always, resides in the heart, which is, we always say, you hurt me. My feelings. Look what you did to me. And we always point to this area. It's the home of our emotional identity. The gut is the place where we identify our belief patterns. So as that folds out, it creates a barrier, right? This barrier of the mind to the intelligence and to the high vibrational feeling states. So really the goal of yoga, the definition of it, is to master our mind, to master the vrittis, the movements of the mind in the chitta, in the field of awareness. Because once you can settle down all of those vrittis, all of this individual identification, and it becomes still, then you start tapping into your genius. You tap into the greater intelligence. And then you start to stabilize the high vibrational feeling states like peace and love and joy and compassion. Incredible. We all want this, but we look outside of ourselves for it. So when we go to the next layer, pranamaya kosha, this is what animates us. This is the energy body. It's when we breathe in oxygen, but the oxygen also carries the life force. In our terms, we call it prana. It could be called bioenergy. It could be called chi or ki or spirit. And to simplify things, let's call it electricity. It's what animates us. It's the energetic architecture of the body, the main NADIs, the main pathways, the junction boxes of the body. Incredibly important to understand. And then what happens is when we develop our beliefs and attitudes, our energy body reorganizes around that. And then the last layer is our physical body. And our physical body becomes a mirror of our beliefs, of our emotions, and how we reorganize our energy. So really, when you look at a body, you can see what people are paying attention to. You can see how they're perceiving the world. It's very easy in some ways, because if we do this, or if I do this, most of you can get a sense of how I'm interacting with the world. If I do this, it's very different. Yes? So this is, our body becomes a reflection of that, and then our external world becomes the movie that we're playing. It becomes what's playing out on the screen, and it's really an illusion. It's just a play of light and pixels. What we're doing in yoga is we're trying to realign the outer three, the physical, the subtle body, and the mental emotional body. This is practice. We can only work here. This is the material. This is the physical. Beyond that level, we would call it the non-physical. We would call it spiritual. And our mind is the barrier. So we're trying to bridge that. What happens on the outside is that our minds are doing one thing, our emotions are all over the place, our energy's reorganized, and our body's all out of shape, out of posture. The only result of that is stress and friction, restlessness and agitation. And then we try to find something in the external world to meet our identity. But it never works. We know that. Every time we have a goal, what happens when you get the goal? You feel good for a little bit, and then you want the next one. Because we don't want a bit more, we want all, right? And the all is doing that inner journey back to the self. So the yogis say, stop looking outside of yourself. Your happiness is not out there. Do a 180-degree turn and go back in and do the practices to connect back to the center. So all our practice, the asana, the pranayama, the mudras, the bandhas, the kriyas, all that stuff is designed to get these outer three layers all moving in one direction, all coming into alignment, so that we can start to thin the veil, to remove the barrier, for it to become more diffuse. And when that happens, all of this comes into alignment, so you start to create a clear channel back into the non-physical, into the spiritual. The idea is if you bring your body, sthira and sukha, if you balance out the physical body, if you bring the breath and make it serene and calm, if you withdraw the senses and you bring the mind to a single point, all of that barrier comes up. And if you don't pay attention to it, if you let it go, what happens is the veil gets thinner and thinner and thinner. And then you start tapping into what's on the other side, the intelligence. And the way that you recognize that, the way that we recognize it, is that you start to receive insights. Your intuition gets stronger. You start to have inspiration in your life. The key then is to surrender to that. How do we then take it into life? And as you do more and more of that, then what happens is you start to stabilize the high vibrational feeling states. Because all they are is a different pitch and frequency, but it's at a higher level. Like when you see the guru, they can be doing incredible amounts of work and incredibly engaged in the world, but simply loving all of the time, peaceful all of the time, happy all of the time. And ask yourself this question: when you do anything on the outside, right, when you're ever trying to achieve anything on the outside, why? If we bring it down into a nutshell, it's because you want to be happy. But nothing on the outside that's impermanent and changes is going to help you have lasting happiness. When we can go inside and get all the outer circle aligned, remove the veil, tap into the intelligence, surrender to it, start living it, then those high vibrational feeling states, summarize it into happiness, make that bigger, bliss, starts to become stabilized. And then the end point is freedom. The end point is moving from duality into singularity. That's yoga. Boom! That's what it's all about. That's what we're looking for. All of the practices, there's different pathways, but in essence, when they haven't been manipulated, are all to come back into singularity. So what happens is then you start to recognize undeniably that it's all one, that it's all interconnected, and you'll move through life with more ease and grace. And happiness and peace will be your default, and you'll be accessing this intelligence. The insights will come, the inspiration will come. And when you take it into life, it's inspired living. And when you share that message into life, you'll start to draw the people that are trying to find that path as well, their way through life. And that becomes a path that you take in life to help others. And when we're doing that, it feels very rewarding. It feels a very powerful way to live because we're having an impact and it's connected to something deeper. Okay, well, how do we work with these outer three layers so we can get all these goodies that we've been talking about? Well, when we look at a body, the way as a body that we play smaller, that we limit ourselves, that we're not open to full possibility, is that we tighten muscles, we contract muscles. On the other side of that, you'll get muscles that switch off in response. So if I go like this with forward head, the muscles at the back are contracted, these muscles switch off. You start to immobilize your joints because they're regulating flow of energy. And then the biggest level is that you start to contract your diaphragms because your diaphragms, pelvic floor, central diaphragm are examples. They're the main ways that we regulate energy through the body, the flow of energy. So in our practice of asana, we really want to look at a body, your body, my body, and where is consciousness flowing? Where is it moving? And then what do we need to do? What are the tools? What are the postures? What are the shapes that we can do to start engaging the muscles where it's switched off, to release the muscles where we're holding possibility, how to mobilize the joints, how to free up the diaphragms. So as a body, we can start to open to life. Right? As a vehicle, we have openness to life. Then we come into the subtle body. We can work a lot of that with pranayama. Right? The pranayama is working with the different flows of the body. We can use it to channel, to build energy, to settle the system. There's lots of different things depending on where a person's at. But this is also the home of the Kriya, the Tantra, the Laya Yoga. Beyond the physical, beyond the asana, this is real power. And these practices help to transform the consciousness very quickly. And in the end result, in the end point, it's all about having the awareness to connect to our belief patterns, the avidya, the ignorance of who we truly are back at the self, and to start setting it aside, setting it aside, setting it aside, setting it aside. Then we open to the intelligence. As we open to the intelligence, we'll get clear direction on who to be in this life, what to do in this life, who you are in this life. And when you know who you are, then you'll know the steps that you can take. And in the process, these high vibrational states will become ordinary for you. You'll just be moving through life with a more stable peace and happiness. It will take a lot more to rock your boat. It will take you a lot more to move you off center until eventually grace draws you into singularity, and then that's inexplainable. That is yoga. That is our path. So if you're finding value here and you like this explanation of the Koshas, please help the algorithm. Like, share, comment, all of those things. Single-handed namaste, shaka, peace out.